Goldylocks Productions broadcasts universal cosmic frequencies that unlock, awaken, and expand the consciousness of our worldwide viewers and listeners. Explore secrets of the universe with show host Sherri Sage Zimmerman. Navigate between the worlds of both the physical and the spiritual planes of existence.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another great show, Secrets of the Universe. I'm really excited. Of course, we have another great show with a new guest. But before we get started, there's a few things I just want to share with everyone. Just some new stuff going on. One, I am going to be incorporating some oracle cards into each show because I really love oracle cards. Most of you that know me know I've been doing tarot for 30 years. I also do astrology, but tarot has been one of my biggest things that I do. But I'm going to be incorporating oracle cards just because I think they're really helpful for just a short message. So I am going to do that. We'll do that actually in a few minutes. Also, for those of you who enjoy this show, would like to donate to my particular show, Secrets of the Universe, it doesn't matter the amount, whether it's a couple dollars or $5 or $10, it really, whatever you feel like you want to give. I just like to keep promoting the show, and I want to, for any donation that you make, no matter how great or small, I will be putting you on a list where I've been doing tarot readings. They're just mini tarot readings, about a 15-minute reading on my shows from time to time. So your name will be put on a list to get a live reading on my show. So if you keep watching and your name comes up during one of those shows, you will be getting a reading. So that's one thing. And I want to talk real quick about our new guest, who she is a astrologer, hypnotherapist, Reiki master, and does shamanic work. She does so much. We're going to get to her in 1 minute after we just do a quick, just a real quick message from one of the cards today. And the deck that I'm doing is actually the deck of angels and ancestors. It's a really cool deck with really great artwork. And I just wanted to pull a card for today's show to begin. And at the end of the show, we'll be pulling a blessing card to end the show. So I'm going to pull a card. And what we have here is the card of the shapeshifter. So this card, I'm just going to give you a very brief meaning of what the shapeshifter is. You know, it's funny because that word and that terminology seems to be coming up a lot lately in a lot of circles that I'm a part of, and just different things that I've been hearing about shape-shifting. So I don't know how many people are familiar with that terminology. It's very interesting. I'll let you Google it. The message that it says here is take your time and focus on developing your gifts and strengths. So that's a short little message. The extended message is you may have been through many challenges and lows, but now you are in a space of transformation. You are moving beyond your past challenges and honing your current strengths. There are opportunities for you to discover and rediscover the gifts and talents that you were born with and born to share. There is a lot more to that message. I just wanted to put out there a message for those who enjoy trying to see if it connects for you in your life at this point in time. So again, that deck is called the Angels and Ancestors Oracle cards. If you decide you like those cards, you might want to pick them up. They are one of my favorite decks. And we're going to get started because I'm really excited to bring on our new guest. Again, her name is Catherine Zola. Catherine is, again, a psychic medium, does a lot of work with astrology, hypnotherapy, Reiki work, and shamanic work. You have a lot of hats you wear, Catherine. I want to welcome you to the show, and we're going to let you kind of take the floor and tell us more about you and the work you do and how you got into this work. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it. So I started my spiritual journey back in the 80s, and I think I happened upon a book of meditation and yoga, and thought, oh, I'm going to give it a try. So as I meditated, I started having some strange experiences that I didn't know what to do with at the time, like spontaneous out of body and remote viewing. And I grew up in a household where it was okay to see things, which was nice. We did have a couple of spirits who lived in one of the houses that we lived in when I was a child. And my mother was very quick to put us at ease with, that's just the guy who lives in the closet. Don't mind him.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Which was nice, which was a very good thing. Because back then there wasn't a lot of support for that kind of thing. So then I even as a child, I read about astrology and hypnosis. Growing up in California in the 60s and 70s, there was a lot of that going on. My mother would go to seances, and she took me with her to Silva Mind Control, which is a kind of light hypnosis, kind of healing work. And I was about 10, I think, and they let me participate. So, I started at a young age being very interested in all these kind of things. And I feel like they definitely helped me a lot and kept me on a positive path through life. Then I lived in Mexico for a couple of years as a young adult, and I learned tarot and continued with the meditation and the like. And then when I moved back, I studied hypnosis, and I was mostly interested in hypnosis as a tool for past life regression. And I didn't actually believe in reincarnation, not fully believed in it. I thought it was interesting, and I hoped it was true. And I thought, well, I sort of thought like it might be a collective consciousness memory. And so I had different working theories like that. And then as I began to hypnotize people, I realized, no, these are individual memories. They're so clear. And some of the experiences I had remembering some of my past lives were so clear. The memories were more intense than, remembering what I did yesterday.
Yes. Yes.
And I still can remember them with that kind of intensity. And I just
I agree. Yeah. I've had those experiences. You're right. Once you have one, I explain to people who are really new to the idea of reincarnation, and it is really kind of like having a memory, like remembering something in your early childhood. However, this is, like you said, often very more vivid, or there's a different feeling about it, and different, obviously, maybe surroundings or time periods. So you're right. It's amazing, and it's definitely a real thing. For me anyway, and hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And people that I've met over the years who, dismiss it. Mm-hmm. All of them always say, oh, everybody goes back and become, they're to a life where they were Cleopatra. And I said, well, that's funny, because I've done hundreds and hundreds of past life regressions, and not one person has ever gone back to a life where they were anyone famous, anyone even with like a cushy life. So it occurred to me early on that, of course, these are our life experiences. And I always ask for guidance for the person to remember the lifetime they need to remember. Mm-hmm. Unfinished business and things that have residual karma for this life, or residual lessons, whatever. And I tell them, if this was people making things up, or everybody going back to Cleopatra, then why wouldn't they make up more lifetimes that were a lot more fun? And generally it's somebody goes back to a life where they were mauled by a bear, and they had to figure out what it was like to go through life disfigured and ostracized by the whole village. And like, why would I make that up? I would rather be Maid Marian or good, or something more fun.
Yeah, I've actually gotten way past explaining to people. I mean, I guess when you first get into reincarnation, it's kind of like you deal with people who do have those kind of they and it may be they just don't understand it. But I've gotten past the point where it's almost like I'm more connected with people that really do understand it. It's such a deeper, much deeper way of understanding the world and understanding why you're here and understanding this isn't your first rodeo. So yeah, it's very, very good practical information that you can derive from past lives that, like you said, help you now, whether it's karma you're trying to balance, which typically it always is, but many things that can answer about things, that feelings that you have about things and why you are a certain way, and so many things, health problems, and oh my God. But yeah, tell us more about some of the work. I know you do shamanic work, and yeah, you really, have kind of evolved into a lot of amazing, I love the different disciplines you're doing.
Yeah, I've always been very curious, and my mother took me to the library every week for my entire childhood. So I've always, and my astrological chart is all about expansiveness. So I've come here to expand and to grow and to be the biggest self I can be and to help others do that as well. So hypnosis was that, meditation, first of all, and then hypnosis was the second step into consciousness. And it pushed me into a whole open, interesting world of studying about consciousness. And I read the out of body books by Monroe, and I grew up reading Edgar Cayce, and so consciousness studies has really been my focus for my entire adult and some into childhood as well. And
well, you don't look real old to me. I guess because I'm getting older. I don't know anymore. You look very young to me. Can I ask around about what age you are?
Yeah, I'm 58.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah, I was born in 62. Yeah. 66.
Oh my Lord. I honest to God, I thought you were like maybe 37 or are you serious? I can't believe you have such a young, and it's almost just more youngish face. Like, oh my gosh, you're kidding.
Run in my family, and I also have a Gemini moon, so that
wow.
Helps.
Oh yeah. Wow, you and I are literally about the same age. Oh my God, I can't believe that.
Apart, yeah.
Wow, that is so cool. I just thought when I saw your website, I'm like, oh, she's like really young, but. Well, it's funny you mentioned the Silva learning, the Silva method, and that is, for people out there that don't understand what that is, it's really an old way of understanding how the mind works. Way back in the 70s, it was really quite popular at that time. So yeah, that's interesting that your mom kind of was moving in that kind of work. That's neat, very neat.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're also an astrologer. So you've been doing that for a while.
That was my next acquisition after the hypnosis. A few years later, I became interested in astrology. I had a friend from Ireland who was a astrologer, and she taught a class, and I didn't even, I sort of believed in it. I didn't know much about it. And she had us learning with our own chart, and it blew me away. And I thought, oh my God, how is it that this exists? And it's everyone doesn't know about it because it's incredible information.
It's one of the oldest. It is one of the oldest disciplines. I mean, besides, healing energy work, of course, is old too.
Right.
But yeah, astrology is one of your oldest disciplines from India and China, where, they say, basically it originated from. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe when you come back into the world again after many incarnations. You're like, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot astrology. It's so even though you think it's kind of new, it's really not. It's something that's been around forever. So yeah, you're just remembering it again, right? Like, oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And I am pretty sure I've had lifetimes where I've done Chinese and other types of astrology. And I have Uranus at 29 degrees Leo, which is an astrologer configuration.
Oh, wow, nice. Yeah, that conjuncts mine. Yeah. Well, It's funny because I always say that in other lifetimes, I know I had other lifetimes of captivity. I'm talking way back, some barbaric time periods too. And I know I literally studied the skies during captivity and watching the planets, move. And yeah, so it is. It's really it's really a great guidance, another great guidance, tool.
It is. It is really amazing, and the way I work with it, it's has evolved over the years. And I've always been very interested in Jungian psychology in general. But Jung is sort of, I like Jung because he believed in astrology. And
me too. I love Jung. Yes, yes.
So I work with astrology in a way that I feel like it's a way to integrate our parts. And Carl Jung was asked how to, I bring this up because of 2020 and 2021, how challenging they are. He was asked by someone, what can we do? What's the best thing we can do to deal with collective madness like World War II? He said the thing that we can do is to be as self-actualized as possible.
Oh, nice. I love that.
Yeah. And last year I reread Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, because I just thought it just felt like it was time to reread it. And I thought, like, anybody who can live through a Nazi concentration camp can teach me something about, where we're at and what we're doing now. And I looked at his astrological chart to try to figure out how he was able to have the grit and resilience to survive such an experience. And that was quite interesting. But I feel that the astrological birth chart is a blueprint that we draw up with help with our spiritual guides in between lifetimes, and it draws on where we've been, what we've been doing, and where we'd like to go, and it incorporates the people we're going to be incarnating around and with, and all the lessons. I consider it sort of a curriculum, but that's kind of a serious way to look at
you're
life.
right. It actually really does pinpoint. I know a really great astrologer years ago that was one of my teachers. It really is, astrology can really help people pinpoint more closely and accurately and detailed of why they came to Earth again, and what their strengths and weaknesses are, and where they may have some health conditions. And there's a variety of amazing information in astrology, and a lot of different branches, right? There's medical astrology. Oh my gosh, there's so many different branches of astrology. But it's an excellent, I had heard it's really a good tool to use if you're going into therapy, because astrology, one thing my astrologer did mention, I thought it was very important. Astrology can pinpoint the areas really where you're having difficulties, where therapy might take years and years to find it.
Exactly.
However, astrology will not be able to do that day-to-day emotional work that you need to do with a therapist. And I thought that was one of the best information pieces she also gave. It does break down the time limit if you're going into therapy, like, oh, okay, this is really kind of, so if you can find an astrologer, who can connect with a therapist or be both, which, that's possible. If you're into therapy and astrology, that's great. But it really can't do the day-to-day emotional work. So, yeah.
I have a master's in educational psychology, and with a focus on social emotional learning. So
you can do both. You can actually look at somebody's astrology chart and be able to see that kind of stuff, and then work through the actual, emotional part of it. That's great. See, that to me would be the best, really.
I'm not a therapist, but I do feel like my psychological understanding is pretty deep. And strangely, I attract a lot of therapists as astrology clients.
Oh, wow.
And I've been told by them that it's like getting a year's worth of therapy in 2 hours. And at first I was very nervous because I thought, oh, I don't, this was before I had my degree in psychology. And I just thought, like, God, I can't read. You're an expert and I'm just an armchair.
Right. Yeah, but it brings a little bit different of an element to the table, though, right? I mean, when you know astrology, it really does give you a different angle, or really different way of really understanding what's going on with somebody, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, with their soul. So, and what's coming up for them. And I mean, there's so much, where their wound is. We look at the Chiron for their wounds. So, I mean, it has so much value. It's unbelievable. So, I understand you might have been a little bit, but, therapists, they need help too, right?
Exactly. And I feel like astrology is a very good diagnostic tool. And I've always considered myself a psychological astrologer. Like you said, there's many branches, there's many approaches. And I've always used a chart reading as an opportunity for, personal growth and checking in with our parts. And that is the individuation process and the self-actualization process to figure out, like, look at the moon. How are we doing emotionally? How do we do emotions? How are we in our bodies? Are we present in our lives? Let's look at Mars, and how do we deal with authority? Do we have any inner authority, or do we project it all out? Let's look at Saturn. How developed do I have my sense of self? That's the sun. It's, it can, and each of these things has a shadow side, and also we need to incorporate our shadow, and the chart can help incorporate it. And now more than ever, I feel 2020 and this year, super important to integrate our shadow and become as self-actualized as possible, as to get through this difficult time.
Oh, I agree. And I do this whenever we bring up different disciplines, just because I like my audience. For there's always many people who are maybe new to some of these disciplines, Reiki, astrology, tarot. So again, I just give a short little, astrology is based on your personal chart of when you were born, the time you were born, the place you were born, and literally the planets in the sky will be in your chart in different pattern formations, angling different ways, and every single chart is individual. So no two charts are alike. Even twins charts are different. So I just want to give that backdrop for, again, a lot of my audience who may be new. We have a lot of people that come to my show that really know all about the whole metaphysical world and all the spiritual disciplines. And then, I have a lot of new people. So I like to I always give that little bit of short understanding of what it is. So if you were to get a reading with Catherine, she would pull up your chart according to that information. And then she'll be able to see where your planets are, how they're lined up. It's really beautiful. It's one of my favorite disciplines, of course. So yeah, Catherine, this is so exciting. Is there anything new that you're working on these days, or anything that you are right now and I love how you just put the 2021 thing, that we're all kind of really in this completely new, moving towards a different kind of a world. So I love how you did, say that is important to deal with shadow work. Is there anything, personally that you're working with now of anything that you're bringing to the table in this time period?
I spent a good portion of 2020 doing mediumship. It's kind of one of my newer acquisitions. I've been studying it for maybe 4 years now. And last summer I went for 4 weeks or 2 weeks to Arthur Findlay School in England.
Oh my gosh, that's where I want to go. I already looked into that last year. I'm like, oh my God, that's where I want to go. I can't believe you did that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if anybody comes in, I'm open, like any of my grandmothers or.
It was a lot of fun. I went for 1 week. I spent 3 months traveling because my grandparents are from Scotland. So it was sort of a ancestral tour. They took pictures of them with me.
Oh, nice.
And I started out in where my great grandmother was from, and I went up to Scotland, and then my mother's side's from Ireland. So I went over.
Okay. Yeah, I have the ancestor line in England. My father's mother's side of the family, her parents were right from England. So yeah, but that's a school I've been wanting to go, which helps you develop more of your mediumship, or if you haven't started. I started doing mediumship years ago and I love it. But I wanted to go to that school just because it's everything I hear about people that have gone, it's just like really an amazing opportunity. So I'm working on that just to.
Okay, we'll talk.
What's that?
We'll talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting.
I took a week of trance mediumship because I've worked with Brazilian spiritualism for many years. I lived in Brazil for 2 years and speak Portuguese. I was married.
Wow, really?
I was married to a Brazilian for a while.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
wow.
Then I went traveling, and then I came back, and at the end of my trip, I took another week, and it was developing confidence in your mediumship or something like that. But
Yeah.
I met a lot of really great people, and I keep in contact with a lot of them. I have 2 intuitive development circles that I teach on Zoom, Sundays and Mondays. One of them is a European group, and one is an American group.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. We do
Well, maybe you can, how would people, if they wanted to, this is a group where people can come on and watch, so they would learn how to develop their ability, or?
Yeah, it's for people who have dabbled in or have some experience. It's not for rank beginners. Although I did have a woman who came for a while, but I think she felt out of her element. It's, we do everything from psychometry to remote viewing to mediumship and reading photos. We do some psychic detective work where we look at cold cases. We remote view interesting spots like haunted houses, or we even went to Antarctica and CERN. So we do
nice.
some of these out-of-body things just to collect information and to see what we think is going on some places. Or these sites with the.
Oh, it looks like we've frozen a little bit there. Hang on for 1 minute, Catherine. It just looks like it froze.
It's fun, and it's.
Catherine, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but you kind of got frozen there.
Okay.
Okay.
Am I back?
It looks like you're back on. So we missed the last few sentences, but that's okay. What I was going to say is, how would somebody, if somebody wanted to get into those groups, those particular development groups, would they just go to your website, or is that okay? So in there, Tiffany, my wonderful manager, just put up the. Yeah, and I'm gonna have you say it out loud, nice and slow, because I do have an audience in Florida that also listens and doesn't see the visual. So if you could also do that.
Sure. My website is Astrozola, ASTROZOLA.com. And my email is on there, and it's catzola9@gmail.com.
Great. Yeah, so I always let my audience know if they didn't catch that. Again, it's her name's Catherine Zola, and it's www.astrozola.com, but they know they can go to my website, and I will pass that information on to them. My website is imaginepeacenow.com, and I will be more than happy to send you over Catherine's website also if you did not get it. So, all right, Catherine, give us any more information that you may be doing. I'm getting a feeling, I don't know why I want to say this to you, but I'm going to say it to you because it's just a feeling I'm getting all of a sudden. So sometimes things just come through, from the other side. I feel like that there's something that you may want to start doing as far as writing a book. So I don't know if this is something you've been thinking about it, or you kind of are, wanting to put something together, but I almost feel like that's something I'm picking up for you, that there should be like a book. I don't know all of what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. People have been telling me I'm going to write books since I was a teen, and it hasn't happened yet. But
oh wow, really?
I'm a late bloomer, and I've written a lot of things, and I have my undergrad degree is in writing. So, and I applied for a university in England last year, 2019, to get my PhD in consciousness studies, and I got in, but between Brexit and COVID, everything fell apart. So
well, things we all have been having to kind of literally, things are just on the spare of a moment now, where people have to rearrange what they were going to do, what they can do, and so maybe the reason I'm getting it right now is because of this downtime that most of us do have. That maybe that's why I'm getting that. You might want to start thinking about really. Some people, may have a hard time figuring out how to literally get a book together. It's not as difficult, and I don't say that meaning I know it's easy for me because I've done a couple books, and I've done actually many books. They're not all published; only a couple are published, but it's not as complicated as sometimes I think people think it is. So if you ever decide down the road, you want to pick my brain a little bit about, what are some ways to get a book started, or how does it work, I can give you at least my little short version of, it. Because I just feel like maybe it's time for you to really,
I agree. It's time.
Yeah. I mean, and I believe in Buddha time, what I call the Buddha time, which means whenever it happens, it happens. And whenever it appears, all in Buddha time, right?
Right.
Because that's really the way it works. So we are at 4:30. So we still have a good 25 minutes. I know that you prepared a little thing for me, but I want to make sure that we've spoken about maybe all the things first that you want to, share with us before Catherine is going to give me a little peek into what's called the astrology transits for 2021 and what that means again for my audience who isn't aware of astrology, how it works. When you look at your personal chart with your own planets in it from birth, the planets in the sky are constantly revolving. So what happens is when you're born and you take that first breath, it's almost like a snapshot of the planets at the time of your birth. And then the planets just keep moving around, right? So what we do as astrologers is we look at what's called the transits of where the planets are today at this moment in time, or whatever time that the astrologer sets up your chart. The astrologer is able to see where the planets are in the sky today, and then they compare it to your personal chart. And that's what tells an astrologer what things are coming up for you, what major changes are happening. So it's really an exciting kind of work. I just want to, put it out there that Catherine is available for many different services that she offers. You can go to that website we gave. And ask her about all these different things. But if you want to do like a little mini 10-minute, or whatever you have that you prepare, that way people can maybe see kind of how it works. They may not understand the lingo, which is fine. Some people will, when we talk about Mercury squaring Venus and all that kind of language, the astrology language, the astro talk.
I tend to leave that out.
Because that's fine.
For the most part, unless most of my clients aren't astrologers, so they don't want to hear. Usually, they don't want to hear where like I'm saying this because I'm seeing that your Venus.
Yeah, and it's more of a teaching. It's more of a teaching type thing, for people that want to learn, right, what those things mean. So either way you want to do it is okay with me. I'm open. It doesn't matter which way I get the information, Mm-hmm.
I do want to mention that there's you mentioning the book, there's two things that I would be interested in writing about, and at least according to these woo-woo subjects.
Yeah.
They're two things that I feel like I are unique to the way I work. I'm sure there's other people doing it. I just haven't met any myself. One of them is the way I work with astrology also is anyone who's had a very challenging experience, like an accident or an illness or an attack or, a catastrophe.
A crisis, a really big crisis.
Yeah. I look at the chart for the time of that event, and I look at it in comparison to their natal chart, and all events have meaning, and finding the meaning in these catastrophes helps us learn from them, helps us process them, and helps us heal them. And it's one of my favorite things to do with astrology. So it's I don't really have a name for it, but it's like a catastrophe, crisis, transit reading, maybe is a good way of calling it. And then with hypnosis, one of the things I've developed in the last 5 years is I don't know if you know about near-death experiences that people have who are are clinically ill and they die and come back. They come close to dying, or they go into the light. So it occurred to me, somebody asked me to actually do, I think, some hypnosis for a sister of theirs who was sick in the hospital for 9 months. And the sister, none of the doctors, she had a whole team of doctors working on her for those 9 months. Nobody knew what was wrong with her. Nobody was able to help her. And she was just spiraling downward. And she was, by the time I got to her, she could barely talk. And she was curling up into a fetal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she was skin and bones. I walked in and I just thought, oh, I'm here to help her over to the other side. Because clearly there's not anything I can do.
Yeah.
And I started to hypnotize her, and I had to sit this close to her face so I could hear her. And I thought, I'm not going to be able to hypnotize her. She's on all kinds of meds. And it completely worked. And I just asked for guidance. And basically what I wound up doing sort of intuitively was to guide her through a near-death experience. I had her go to the other side. I had her talk to relatives who had passed. I had her ask her higher self what illness she had, and she gave me some scientific name, which I passed on to the doctors. And we worked, I hypnotized her about 5 or 6 times, and we worked on releasing childhood traumas, just like everything you can imagine, and getting more in her body. And I asked her at some point, I said, are you ready to go? Are you wanting to leave Earth? And she had a 6-year-old daughter, and then she didn't want to leave because she wanted to watch her grow up and be there for her daughter. And I told her, I said, okay, if you're gonna be around, you're gonna have to really get behind that decision.
Right.
On a cellular level, on a energetic level, vibrational level, on an emotional level, on every level possible. You have to get solidly behind that decision. And I worked with her with hypnosis to get, to fortify that decision. And she was released hospice by the doctor.
Wow, really?
And I continued to go and visit her and hypnotize her. I think we did maybe 6 or 7 sessions. And she is still alive today. This was 6 years later.
Wow.
She can sit up. She can feed herself. She uncurled out of the fetus position.
Wow.
She can walk with a walker. And this is a woman who's, I think, a little younger than me. So she's still alive. She's been able to see her daughter get older. Now her daughter's probably a preteen. And, I didn't do it. She did it. She did all of it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. However, you were the vessel and being guided to help her. So no doubt, it's always the person that heals, basically helps their own healing, right? Exactly. But there are, thank God, people like you that do that kind of work that help aid in it, and that's the work, right? That's the work that we do. That's the work that we choose, and that's the work that we feel guided by. And it's always coming from the other side. But excellent story. I love that. Wonderful. Yeah,
and I feel like this is sort of, as much as I'm interested in reincarnation and past lives, I have a lot of fun doing that. And I feel like it helps expand people to have an experience of a past life, because you begin to start to think of yourself in a different way. Like, oh, I'm not just this person.
Exactly.
This life.
Exactly.
I'm eternal and much larger.
Yes. Yeah. But I think that's why I enjoy it too, the past lives. It really makes you realize, wow, how do you really think that in one lifetime you could possibly really get everything, basically, what you feel you need to know or what you should be doing? I mean, it's funny when you think about it. But we're going to jump into the reading because we don't have a whole lot of time left.
Okay.
So we're going to get started. And then when you're done, whatever you're going to share, we want to give your website one more time so people can connect with you. Okay?
Excellent. Sure.
And thank you, by the way, in case I forget to thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So I have your chart here. I also have your progress chart. So I'll be looking at both of those. And I also did a astrology tarot throw. I'm just going to look at a little bit of each with each.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. So 2021 for all of us is challenging because of what Uranus and Mars has been doing, and what Saturn and Jupiter, Pluto, Neptune, especially for those of us in America. So overall, what these planets are asking from us is to become as authentic as possible, just to live our most authentic lives. There's a lot of talk about getting back to normal. I ask, was normal working for you? Like on a deeper level. Now's the time to ask that question and not go back to it if it wasn't, or to make changes to it if need be. So Uranus wants us to make changes that work, better for us as individuals in an authentic way, and also collectively, so that society itself runs better, so that we work and play well together. Neptune Neptune has been in its own sign since I think 2008 or 9. And it's been causing, especially I think last year, it really kicked in what I would call a collective psychotic break. And it's intensifying confusion and the inability to get a bead on reality. And I believe the reason for that is to wake us up from narratives that don't function and that have never been true, and that we should maybe rethink and reconsider. So Neptune is asking us to be more creative with the narratives that we write for ourselves as individuals, and again, collectively.
Okay.
So for you, specifically, so, all right, I have to talk about some more general things. Pluto has been, for the United States specifically, asking us to rethink monetary systems and how we think about money and power, and how money is power, and how we spend it, how we get it, what we give up to get it. So all of these things are asking us to take a hard look at our own lives and think about how we deal with possessions and money, and how empowered are we, and are we using possessions or money to compensate for a lack of real energy and a real power. And to come up with a system that's also, again, less about all the money being in a little few people's hands and the rest of us, struggling to survive. And Pluto in late degrees of Capricorn is asking us to restructure the whole monetary system. So that's happening, but we have to be careful to guide that in the direction that's going to work for us. The same with Uranus. So, the age of Aquarius, people are very, there's a lot of debate about when the age of Aquarius is actually happening. And it's not, it's like winter. Winter doesn't just happen one day and suddenly it's winter. It out of the, fall and into winter, and it takes, weeks and weeks to get into winter.
Yeah, it's a gradual thing.
Yeah, and it's with the age of Aquarius, and we're already transitioning. I'm pretty sure we're not out of the age of Pisces yet, and I can feel the blend of age of Pisces and the age of Aquarius, because there's still the victimization thing happening with Pisces. The religion issue is still happening with the age of Pisces, and also the age of Aquarius is definitely on its way, and we can see that with like flying vaccines, which is Bill Gates has funded the genetic modification of mosquitoes in order to deliver vaccines, which makes my head want to explode. But so this is an example of the shadow of the age of Aquarius. And, for years since the 60s, we've been hearing, yay, age of Aquarius. And certainly, yes, it could be very lovely. So could have the age of Pisces been. But collectively, we tend to not do things on the nicer end. Because we're all a bunch of people who haven't been doing the personal work. And so we're just one big shadow, collective shadow. So the age of Aquarius shadow is genetic modification, vaccines that haven't been tested, given to people. It's tech, the lack of privacy and surveillance, tech, no privacy anymore than being data mined. And, it's even some of the censorship that's happening. So Aquarius and Uranus are change. And so in order to properly direct where we want this change to happen, we have to be agents of change. But we can't do that unless we're empowered, self-actualized, doing the work, and living our most authentic lives. And then we can be a force of change for for the positive in the world.
Right.
So one last thing, Saturn, we need to integrate our own Saturn because we need to listen to our own inner authority rather than to project it onto a government and then, like vote in somebody and ask the person, oh, can I marry anyone I want? Or can I, do this or that? So we're handing over our power. Government in general is us projecting the father archetype and handing over that power instead of owning it and listening to our inner authority and knowing that we can behave responsibly and with integrity. And we don't need a government,
Right. That we can actually really, once we really get into understanding really who we are as a people in the world, and I'm talking collectively, I do believe we'll learn more and more how to govern, that we can be responsible and govern ourselves more and more. Again, I don't think we're there yet either, but we don't have much time left. So I don't know if you want to jump into the mini reading.
Yes. So how these collective themes or general themes play out in your own life has been, I'd say currently for a while now, Uranus and Mars are in your first house. So I feel like you're doing things in a more courageous way. You have more energy. You're putting into projects, figuring out how to do things in a new way, less concerned with, what people might think than maybe in the past, and not letting people pull you off track or into some other direction, having overly too much say in what you do. So you're doing that more independently, I should say.
That's true. That is very true. Yeah.
And you've had Venus and Saturn going through your 10th house. So that's I would say you've been restructuring for at least a year and a half to 2 years how you do your career. And that probably includes relationship has changed. I would say I know that you've moved, so definitely a move. And I feel like those two are heading towards giving you more self-confidence in how you work. And I'd say, courage, just to know your self-worth and to put yourself out there more. So Neptune has been working on you, helping you heal your primary wounds. I'd say starting back in 2009, approximately, when Neptune was on your Chiron. This was, Chiron is the primary wound that you inherit from your parents and from your childhood experience, but also it's, comes from residue of past lives. So Neptune, it has been helping you figure out how to heal that and using spiritual energy. The other thing with Uranus and Neptune is I feel like your mediumship and your ability to channel. I don't know if you channel, but I feel like with Uranus,
I can't believe you're touching on that. Yeah, go ahead. Say what you're going to say, and I'll tell you.
Uranus has been in your first house for a bit. But I feel like since it's been in there, you've really focused on that channeling. And even if sounds like you've been actually doing channeling, but it's just like that electric energy that you can just sort of tap into the cosmos and know what's going on. And that's the beauty of Uranus.
Well, actually, it's interesting you mentioned, I do think it's probably Uranus, but I think it's also the Neptune that's moved into my sign of Pisces in the 12th house. I am going to be starting channeling work where I'll be channeling. I've got a great teacher that I love. And so, that's something that's new on my horizon. I'm really excited about. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah.
And Neptune's about to go into your 12th house. So that's going to just continue to lead you down that path of, maybe more mediumship, more channeling. And
actually, I don't know which system you're doing, but it's actually already in my 12th. I have a intercepted houses. I don't know if you work with intercepted houses or no.
I do. I use the Coke.
Okay. Yeah, because I have actually the sign of Pisces and Aries in my 12th. And then my Libra and my Virgo is in my 6th house. So yeah. But yeah, that's right on. Okay. What else do you have? We have about 3 more minutes before we have to wrap up.
Okay. So your progress chart shows that your progress sun has been in Scorpio for quite a long time, and it's in about 5 or 6 years, it looks like it's going to move into Sagittarius, and I think you're going to feel an amazing change when that happens. It's just gonna change everything about how you feel about relating to other people, and I think also it's also going to be a very expanding time as well for you to just expand out even more into all that you are. And
that's true. That is true. If it's according to what I see coming, yeah, that would be true. And especially I know it's leaving. I know my progress chart pretty well, and I know my son's moving into Sag down the road. So that would be true of what I'm working on right now. Very much more expansive at that point in time, and travel too. Yeah.
Yeah. You've been working on configuring how you do relationships, and that's going to continue to improve. And this last 20 some years has been about going really deep within the psychology of how you understand yourself in relationship to others, how you can feel vulnerable and connect with somebody on a deep spiritual level. That's all been an intensification period, and once it moves into Sagittarius, it's going to be like,
oh, I agree. I'm telling you what. Well, most people don't know about my life. I mean, I've spent most of my life in and out of mental hospitals for the last 30 years. Actually, from 19 years old until I was about 53, 54. So yeah, the word intense doesn't even come close, but it is. I know that's a word for Scorpio, and my progressed sun is in Scorpio. It's been a very long life, and very transformational, and very deep, and very painful, but very interesting. I am definitely not choosing it again. I knew on the other side I was just going to do this one time, this particular type of life, and I'll be done with it. So yeah, I'm going for the gold. But I want to thank you. That was very informative, and we do have to wrap up.
Yeah, let me say that your progressed moon has been in Pisces, and it's going to be moving out soon, and that will help a lot as well.
Great. Yeah, you and I can talk more personally about that. That would be great. And anybody that you were just right on about so many things, and of course there's so much more. Again, it's a little bit more time consuming, and it's something that you really want to get into a heavy conversation with. I could go on and on about some of the things you've already touched on. I want to thank you for that, Catherine. And there's Catherine's website again. For those that you want to get in contact with her, it's www.astrozola.com. And I can't say enough about just having you on the show. And most of my guests know that I usually do repeat guests because I like people to get to know my guest. So I want to thank you, Catherine, and we will be talking again soon.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I am so happy. Okay, so I want to thank again all of you for being on my show today and visiting with us. I just love people that are doing the work that they love, that they're passionate about. For me, that's what this is all about. It is why we're here. It is why we continue to hopefully keep moving forward because we want to see the world change. We want to be able to, really connect and understand who we are and what we're doing. We only have another minute, so I'm going to wrap this up pretty quickly, and I'm going to pull another card. This card is from the deck called Blessed Be. It's one of my other favorite decks. So all this deck is a blessing. So we're just going to give the short message. What we got was a blessing for a mother, which is very interesting due to what's happening with my own mother at this point in time. But this is a blessing for a mother and for all mothers. I'm just going to read it kind of quick. It says, a blessing for a mother so that she knows and deeply understands the sacred and challenging path she walks and appreciates the state and the rights of motherhood evolve just as her child will grow and change into their own true self. So that's the message today for all mothers out there. If you want to hear that again, you can feel free to contact me from my website that Tiffany just put up for me. Thank you, Tiffany, again. So yes, if you want to keep following us along and enjoy the show, please, again, if you want to donate, go to Goldylocks Productions. That you can find on, I think, on Goldylocks Production page. You can check that out, and there's a donate button there for Venmo. And there, Tiffany's got it up and running again. So yeah, this is exciting. I will put you on a list for a reading for a future show. So thank you again. I just love coming on each week and bringing a special guest. So I hope you have a great day. And as always, follow the path that's so divine for you, designed for you. Take care.
Become a Goldylocks Productions VIP patron. Receive exclusive access to live stream special and other epic perks. Join the Goldylocks Productions VIP community today.